People ask me about eugenics all the time due to the fact that my grandparents died because they were Jewish, based on a eugenics concept. For some reason, I have been able to differentiate eugenics on a positive and a negative basis. I think it is good if I could buy my kids an extra 20 years, and I would pay the money, because I'm willing to spend $250,000 for them to go to college. I've put money away, and I know I'm going to need $250,000 for them to attend a good 4-year university by the time they get to be that age, and I'm putting the money aside, and it will be there. And if I'm willing to spend that much money for them to go to a university, why wouldn't I spend $15,000 or $20,000 to enable them to live 20 or 30 years longer?
Yeah, scary, huh?
The wealthy, who are going to be the early users of these technologies, they're actually very educated about them. They know what they're getting into. They're doing it by free choice. They're not even being mildly coerced economically. They're very motivated. They're just the type of people that you would like to be your test pilots, to take on the risks.
In vitro fertilization itself costs over $20,000 per attempt. It will be several $100,000 to do genetic engineering on your embryo. And so we may move to being a country of genetic haves and have-nots. Biologist Lee Silver even suggests that in the future, we could break off into two sets of people, the gen-rich and the naturals, those who could afford genetic engineering and those who can't, and that we might actually become two different species where those groups couldn't have children with each other. Researchers at Case Western are actually working on a procedure where people could be genetically engineered by the insertion of an extra chromosome with a bit of new DNA on it. You then would indeed be creating a different species. You'd be creating humans, or would they be humans, with a different number of chromosomes who may not be able to produce children with the rest of us.
We're not at risk as individuals because it's not like nuclear weapons where somebody makes a mistake somewhere and millions of people get vaporized. With these technologies, if you're worried about them, well, don't use them.
One of the meetings I was at in Europe, and we were within the shadow of a concentration camp, and it became clear some of the well-meaning developments in reproductive technologies could lead to that us-them approach that has been so devastatingly horrible in various of the race wars, the ethnic cleansing going on around the world.
John and Katie?
35 weeks, off
She's
bed
still
rest.
pregnant?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Expecting her to deliver any day, but she's officially full-time.
So take off modified bed rest, she's released.
Defrosted all and ended up with one boy and one girl. So I just thought.
Do we defrost embryos in
So I think it's so true, though. I think newborn babies all the time look to me like the father.
I think the decision whether we are going to go forward with genetic engineering to create a better, stronger, faster, brighter kid is going to happen pretty quickly. I think that within the next few years, there's going to be a couple that walks in our door and says, we want an egg donor. We don't care what she's about because we have a doctor that's willing to genetically engineer the embryos, and we will be able to create the child we want. And here's our check. And it'll probably be a big check, and we'll probably be short of rent that month. Large. Yeah. First of all, here's the question. How does someone who's dead maintain an erection? How do you do it?
It's a simple surgical procedure.
Oh, you don't actually masturbate dead body.
I wanted to ask you whatever happened with the embryos that you were housing for UC Irvine.
Ricardo said, Cappy, do you mind babysitting for the embryos for 3 months while I find another location? I said, sure, I'll help you out. In that 3-month period, he went to Mexico, Pepe went to Chile, and Sergio went to jail. He said, hey guys, come on, let's be real.
Have any shown up to get them?
Very few, but...
And how many are there?
Probably 400 bucks. But now what we're doing is we're taking the embryos from defunct IVF systems. We have a contract with the people, and we say that we're going to send them to collection for storage fees unless they tell us what to do. We wrote them letters, we called them up, we sent them certified letters.
What you got to do is you're going to defrost one at a time until they pay up.
This is like, I'll kill your dog unless you do what I say.
Yes.
This is awful.
You know, just say, I have 18 of your embryos. Tomorrow, the first one's defrosted.
They don't...
You're way too commercial in this area, you know.
Bill, they will sue you.
But there is a British scientist who cloned headless frogs, and a Princeton biologist, Lee Silver, said he sees nothing rationally wrong with creating headless humans. And so, Bill, you've been a notorious libertarian in this area. I mean, is there any place you draw the line in all this?
No.
Yes.
Lashes and lungs flirting with the air. I hear my eyelids close. My heart's